Alright YouTube, I'm going to be working on my 95 Wrangler today. I'm going to be doing the front diff fluid change. The cool thing about these is they got a screw-in fitting, and guess what, that screw-in fitting accepts the socket wrench. So you just go ahead and slide it in there and then open it up. Make sure you can get that loose before you take all these bolts off and drain it. And then of course you're going to want a pan underneath here, which I will go get. Alright guys, so to get this front diff off, you're going to need to get a 1/2 inch socket and take all those bolts off, and a ratchet. The ratchet can actually go in here, which is the nice thing. Okay. Now before you do any fluid change, you need to make sure you either have a gasket or some sort of sealant that you can put around there. I'm going to use a blue RTV, and then also I recommend opening this guy up. If you can't open this guy up, don't do it until you can get it open. The only reason for that is because you need a way to refill it. So let's get going on this. There's still fluid in there, which is good. Alright guys, so I got the bolts off. This nameplate is over here. Make sure you save it. That tells you what gears you have in there. So we're just going to let that fully drain. Okay. The reason for it, you want to leave this cover on so it doesn't just come pouring out. Okay. Now that it's pretty well drained, I am going to take that top one off and pull the cover. Alright, now you get to see the inside of the rear end, or excuse me, front end. Okay, so make sure there's no metal particles in there. 87,000 miles, I wouldn't think there is. We're going to clean off both this cover and this ring here. Now, I usually use a knife and then just some sandpaper. You can use wire brush, air power brush, something that will get that off, but I would not get a grinder out and start grinding on it. So let me get this gasket cleaned off and we'll see if we can't get it put back on quickly. So now that I got the gasket material off of it, I'm going to clean up the outer edges, or the inside, with a brake cleaner. What that's going to do is get that excess garbage out of there and any extra oil. So when I put new oil in, it won't mix with the old stuff and it will be good. Alright guys, so it's time to put some new gasket material on. I'm going to use this RTV blue. Basically you're just going to go all the way around each hole, Okay, so what we're going to do here is pop it open. Okay, and you're just going to squeeze. Okay, so it's on there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and just kind of just smooth it out just a little bit, because you want to make sure that there's no voids. Okay. When you put it on the car, it's actually going to squish out anyways. But you want to make sure that everything is basically one gasket. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna get a lot of squish on this guy. I know it because I put a lot on it. That's okay. Better to have more than not enough. Alright. Alright guys, so at this point I've already got the case on. You're just gonna work your way around, finding those holes, putting those bolts back in. One thing don't forget to do, put the plate back on. It tells you what kind of gears you have inside. Other than that, make sure everything goes back on with this big part covering the gearbox. Alright, so you're going to take your 1/2-inch wrench and you're just going to work around, kind of like putting a car tire on. You go diagonal to the next one. The reason for that is you want them all to seat well. So let me just get them loosely down, and then we'll go diagonal on them. So one thing I forgot to mention is don't completely torque all the bolts down until the gasket has kind of cured. It takes about an hour or so. What that does is allows so all the gasket material stays in place and doesn't actually squish out fully. So I will fully tighten this up here in about a 1/2 hour to an hour. Alright guys, it's time to fill this thing up. So when you fill it up, you're only going to fill it up to this point right here. Okay? You have to fill the liquid in there, so just about that much right there. Now, because where it's at, you can't just pour it in, so you're going to need to get a pump. Okay? And these pumps will attach to the top of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and use 7590 gear oil. This says it can be on transmission and diff. Reading online, 7590 is perfect for the front and rear differential on Jeeps. Now as far as going in the transmission, I don't know. I still would use the Dexmerc because that's what's recommended unless you do a full flush to the system. So we're gonna go ahead and just start pumping this in. It's a slow process. You gotta get the fluid moving in there. Whoop. So this will probably take at least one bottle. Possibly 2.